The AFU counteroffensive in the summer of 2023 at 𝐔𝐤𝐻𝐻 aimed not only to break through the Russian defense line, but also to reach Tokmak in order to develop an attack towards the coast of the Sea of Azov. Nevertheless, the attack of the enemy mechanized brigades was stopped already at the first line of defense of the Russian troops. The fiercest battles were fought over 𝐔𝐤𝐻𝐻, and during several months of fighting, the AFU managed to squeeze the Russian armed forces out of the northern and central parts of the village at the cost of heavy losses. After the failure of the enemy counteroffensive, a relative calm was established in the area. The AFU moved their forces to other directions, while the resources of the Russian armed forces were concentrated in the Avdiivka direction. The main efforts of Russian units at this point were focused on the defeat of enemy defense hubs and transport infrastructure. Gradually, the stability of the AFU front began to decrease, which the Russian command took advantage of. In early 2024, the Russian armed forces launched a localized offensive to regain the positions lost earlier. By February 22nd, Russian assault troops supported by aviation knocked the enemy out of half of 𝐔𝐤𝐻𝐻. At the same time, there was a parallel advance in the fields to the east of the village. As a result of competent actions of the Russian armed forces, the AFU were knocked out of several key strongholds in the nearby forest belts. For several months, there was fierce fighting at the site. The skillful actions of Russian assault troops, UAV operators, and the Russian aerospace forces allowed to knock the enemy out of the village. 𝐔𝐤𝐻𝐻, the capture of which the enemy's media publicized as a success of their offensive in 2023, was recaptured by the Russian armed forces. At the same time, the settlement was destroyed in the course of more than a year of battles, which prevented Russian troops from gaining a firm foothold on its territory. After that, the main events moved to the right flank of the Robotyne sector of the front. Russian troops, relying on Novopokrovka, began to conduct localized attacks towards Mala Tokmachka. By early December, they managed to expand their zone of control along the N08 highway and create a threat of semi-encirclement, the AFU grouping north of 𝐔𝐤𝐻𝐻. Nevertheless, this offensive failed to develop due to the high density of AFU fortifications and the geographical difficulties of the terrain. Mala Tokmachka and Novodanilivka could be potential vectors for a wide area offensive by the Russian armed forces in the 𝐔𝐤𝐻𝐻 section of the front. However, given the successes of Russian troops at Stepov and Shcherbaki, the situation here could change significantly. An offensive to the west of Orikhiv would not only make it possible to advance in the direction of Zaporizhzhia, but could also force the enemy to redeploy forces from other areas, exposing the front in the area of 𝐔𝐤𝐻𝐻 or Mala Tokmachka.